welcome to Intro Skippers, the show where an entertainer and an entertainment journalist are finally united in one mission, and that is to watch all the stuff and tell you about it.
Finally,
Hi, I'm Kim. Yeah.
The world's been waiting for this.
It's not like it's not like a gotcha kind of thing. I think that's rare in entertainment journalism.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's not many gotchas other than like
maybe in gossips, but I don't
Right.
consider gossiping or gossip stuff to be entertainment journalism.
No,
personally.
we're not a gossip column.
Yeah, I don't care. It's not in my interests. I've been asked that before, like, what is the juiciest secret? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't ask that. I ask about their work.
Yeah, good. Integrity.
Well, it's like, I don't care. I literally don't care.
Yeah.
I care about this thing that we watched, you know, but absolutely. I don't care about your new house makeover. Like, how irrelevant is that? Anyway, I wonder if I've angered anyone by saying that.
I don't think so. I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. You're just speaking your opinion. It's fine.
Ooh, sure don't care about the gossip. Hi, friends. I have a big sunburn on my body from sailing this weekend, but how are you, Jason?
That's right. I saw that you were on a boat, and I even messaged you, hey, are you a sailor now? And you were like,
I wrote, no,
I am not.
I hate this. Respectfully, I hate this, and I never want to do it again.
How did you end up on a boat, and why?
It's like a friend of a friend is sails, and they were like, oh, it's going to be so great. Don't worry, it'll be fun. But there was no shade, and the inside of the boat smelled like poop, and I got really sunburned, and it was not very fun. But yeah, it's, I'm just gonna chalk it up to maybe it's not for me, because there's a lot of things in life that aren't for me, and that doesn't mean they're bad. It's just not to my interests.
I've been on a few boats in my day, that's for sure, but don't actively pursue it unless I'm invited. So
well, it's also like everyone. Well, not everyone, but half the people were part of the sail crew. So it was a lot of screaming, like, go over there, pull the jib to the mast, do the fly. And they're like, I don't know what you mean. What are these words? Because not everyone knows those things. But anyway, yeah, that's fine. That's neither here nor there. We are talking today about a docuseries. I sure don't want to say documentary. And we are interviewing someone who has very relevant input on that. And that is going to be, today we are doing the Fit for TV, the reality of the Biggest Loser, aka Netflix's Biggest Loser docu-series. It's 3 parts. They dropped on August 15th. They are available now if you have Netflix. And pretty much this is going back and touching on The Biggest Loser, which was a massive reality TV series. Mm-hmm. I actually never watched the show because I thought it was incredibly mean-spirited and humiliating. And it does seem like there are various views on this. I mean, even the people in the show, their takeaways were all over the place. I did notice a lot of finger pointing in this, like, it was their fault it was so bad. No, it's good TV. Well, I should have been there. But it spoke to many former contestants, including some winners, Allison Sweeney, who was one of the hosts, Bob Harper, who was one of the trainers, co-executive producer J.D. Roth and David Broome, who I think came off as the biggest villains, and Dr. Robert H. Huizenga. Is that the right pronunciation, Jason?
Yes, Huizenga.
Huizenga. It rhymes with Buzzinga. Got it. Oh, and Aubrey Gordon, author and podcaster of You Just Need to Lose Weight. By the way, I thought she had the most on-point commentary of the show that I agree with, just to put that out there. But go ahead, Jason.
Okay. No, actually, that doctor really fascinated me because he was it seemed like they presented him. Yeah, he was an athlete. He was a doctor for an NFL team for 10 years. He also was he was a expert witness. He was in the
OJ trial.
Right. I think he was an expert witness for OJ's defense. I think they kind of like rolled over that pretty quickly.
The doctor was interesting because on one hand, I thought he did care and he did want the best for the patients. They talked about how the doctor would say, no, your trainers are going to say eat 800 calories a day. Don't do that. That's bad. Don't do that. That's too extreme. But on other parts, it was clear to me that he really liked the attention and prestige and glamour of, being the on-camera doctor.
Yeah.
But then other times he was like, well, I was supposed to be supervising everything and they didn't let me. So
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone was a, let's just say, fascinating character, to say the least, in this.
Yeah. I also, like you, never watched the show when it was out. And I even had a friend who was on the show, although we became friends after he was on the show. I didn't know him before. And that's who we're going to bring on today, Vinny. But yeah, I never watched it. And the same as you.
It just seems mean, right? Like it's designed to humiliate people. That's how I read it. And I was just like, I can't take watching hours of this. It would be too stressful.
The producer that they went back to over and over again, he certainly hinted at that's kind of how they were able to get the show made in originally.
Totally. I mean, they were saying also we wanted people who were very overweight and unhappy about it. We want people who are depressed or distraught or just in general having extreme emotional reactions, people who aren't okay with their weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, why don't we bring on somebody who can shed a lot of light on this?
Who did it?
Yeah, he did it, and I think he made it all the way to the end. I don't think he won, but I think he came in second or third, right?
No, he didn't. He was eliminated halfway through.
Halfway through. Okay.
I did some research on your friend.
Hey, look, we write songs together. You know what I mean? I try not to dig too deep on the other stuff.
We are going to be talking to Bigg Vinny Hickerson. That's I didn't call him Bigg Vinny. That was him.
That's his stage name.
Vinny was a standout of season 12 of The Biggest Loser. He was not the winner. He was voted out in week 7, it looks like. And notable, just like how Jillian Michaels was absent in this documentary, she was absent in Vinny's season. Anna Kournikova, the tennis star, was a trainer for only this season. I guess they decided not to keep her after this point, along with Bob Harper. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Vinny's thoughts were. This was a season that was divided by ages. So there was a team of people in their 30s, team in their 50s, and a team in their 20s. Looks like Vinny dropped well over 100 pounds. Good for him.
Yeah.
And he was beloved by his castmates and the audience. And it looks like he lost a total of 184 pounds when you include the amount he lost when he went home after he was eliminated from the show, which is almost half his body weight. So that's a major transformation that we can ask him about, among other things. And yeah, and he's Jason's friend.
Yeah.
Small world.
And he'll be your friend after you interview him today because you're going to love him, I'm sure.
Okay. Sounds like a promise. All right, everyone. We are back talking about our overview of the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix. And we said we'd have someone knowledgeable, and we do. We have Bigg Vinny Hickerson. He was a contestant on season 12 of the show. He is also a speaker and a musician. Vinny, thank you for coming and talking to us.
I'm honored to be on here and then hopefully do a little bit of battling for my show that I think saved my life and gave me a second opportunity to live it to the fullest. So I'm excited to be here to be a different, perspective on what I feel like the documentary was aimed at.
Yeah, the documentary had a variety of different voices, and some people were very thankful to the show, and some people were pretty critical of not only the results, but how they were treated. So just to start off, what's your take?
So the big thing for me when it comes to this, I was on season 12. I finished in the final 4. I lost 184 pounds on the show, but I lost 258 pounds that year. So even though it was 184 on the show, it was a massive, way more weight loss for me that year. But I would say this, every season's different. And I get that. So I try to only speak on my behalf and what I went through. But for me, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed every single bit of the opportunity that I got to be there, to be on the show. I got so much knowledge. We did have a psychiatrist on my season, and I have found out that I think every season, pretty much, except for maybe season 1 and 2, did have a psychiatrist there that you could call, that you could be in touch with if you decided to. And on my season, if they saw that you had a hard moment, immediately after you were done filming or the filming stopped, they would send you in there with them. So that's the way I was treated. There was a dietitian. We learned a ton from her. They taught us all about the different things with the different macros. We learned how to, we learned the knowledge that we learned there, just about the body types and how your macros are going to work in your system. When's the right time to eat? Which foods, what should you eat pre-workout, post-workout. We learned all that stuff, and it was great. Now whether you retain it all or don't, I mean, knowledge comes when you continue to use the things that you have learned, is when you gain the actual knowledge. You don't get knowledge just by learning it one time. You have to keep it in your head. You have to put it to use. And once you put it to use and you see it work, then that knowledge becomes true to you, because what happens is everybody's body is different. That's why Dovet used to say on the show, he said, this ain't for everybody, it's for your body. And that's the way I kind of looked at me, was like, man, I got to do what's going to help my body do the best. So on the show, there was a time when I was offered from Bob, after I was on Dovet's team for 6 TV weeks, which could have been, 3 months. But I was on Dovet's team for 6 TV weeks, and then I got switched to Bob's team. And the first day that I got switched to Bob and he found out he had me, he kind of was like, dude, we got the secret sauce. You're going to win this whole show. We're going to cut you down to 800 calories a day, and you're going to win this whole thing. And for me, I was like competitive. So I was like, yeah, I'll win the whole thing. Well, I tried it for one day and I could not do it. I couldn't sustain it. There were other people on our season that did, and they ended up winning. I couldn't sustain it. I did it for one day, felt terrible, was like, I'm not going to do that. I went to Bob and told him, I said, hey, man, I want to win the show, but if I'm going to win the show, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it by what the doctor gave me, which was 2,400 calories a day. And I was actually given a diet of 45% protein, 45% carbs, 35% protein, and 20% fat. I believe that's what it was. And so our carbs were actually higher than our proteins or our fats, but I was still taking in 2,400 calories. Now, 2,400 calories when you're eating real whole foods like chicken. I mean, I would eat chicken, egg whites, rice, raspberries, oatmeal sometimes in the morning, salmon, bison. They brought in fresh food every single day, never frozen. We had fresh seafood, organic, brought in every day, vegetables. Everything was brought in. It was so good. So I just felt like they took so good care of us. And I did get rhabdomyolysis on my season, actually, like 2 weeks in, and they made me literally sit. I wasn't allowed to do anything. They took care of me. They monitored me every day. They took my blood work every couple of days just to make sure of when it, kind of went back to doing the right thing. And they did take very good care of me. So I didn't feel anything like the people that said they had those bad experiences. I didn't feel like them on my season. I'm not, like I said, not discounting what they said, but it was not that way for me. For me, I was treated very well. I was loved. I felt cared for by the trainers, by the doctor, by the show, by the production, by the staff. Everybody was top notch to me. And, I can't, honestly, I tried to think of a bad thing about it. The only thing I could really come up with was like, I wish they would have showed people on TV that a week wasn't just a week. We didn't really lose 21 pounds in 1 week. We lost 21 pounds in like 25 days. I wish they would
A lot
explain
more
that to people,
realistic.
because I think that, and also keeping in mind that, 15 pounds of that was water weight, was my body saying, oh, wait, you've been eating all this food. You've been holding all these carbs in your belly. I think explaining that to people, because as a trainer now, I train people, I teach people about, I do powerlifting and strongman competitions and all this kind of stuff. So teaching people now, like, hey, you shouldn't want to lose 10 pounds in a week, other than your first week. Your first week, if you lose 10 pounds, most of it's going to be water weight. But if you can do 1 to 2 pounds a week, you think over a year's time, that's 52 to 104 pounds in a year. That's a pretty great transformation that's sustainable, and you're not going to work yourself so hard that your body is breaking down, your joints are breaking down, all that kind of stuff. That being said, it was a TV show. It was a competition. You signed up to go there and make TV. And for the people that didn't realize that, like, I don't know. For me, I realized it. I'm like, hey, this is a television competition. The people that were going on Survivor were really starving. We had food at our beck and call every day. The people in Survivor may not eat for 3, 4, 5, 6 days sometimes, or they ate 1 little cup of rice a day or something like that. So I just felt like we were well taken care of on my season, and I loved my experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I would not be here today with us. I was over 500 pounds laying in a hospital bed at 27 years old before that show. My life has never been reduced back down to that since the show, and that's been 14 years ago. So if I'm just looking at comparisons, where I am compared to where I would have been if I hadn't had that, I'd probably be in the grave. I'd probably be 6 feet deep right now.
Well, I'm really glad that you are here with us and able to report improved body and mental health.
Look at these
I want to
guns.
go back. That That's right. You're a trainer now. But you said you had rhabdomyolysis. That was a
Yep.
big part of this documentary where they showed that Tracy,
Mhm.
I think from an earlier season than you,
8. Yeah.
she said
Yeah, a couple seasons.
she died due to
Uh,
running or overexerting herself, and she turned out to have rhabdomyolysis.
Yeah, so I don't think she actually ever flatlined or anything like that. But what she's saying is, when you have rhabdo, your internal organs will stop functioning correctly and can even shut down, which could obviously cause death. And I think that when she fainted there on the beach, it probably felt like she was dying, and she didn't come to for a while. So I've talked to Tracy. I love Tracy. She was kind of a villain on her season, but every time I've met her, she's been the sweetest thing. And I actually helped get her son proper supplementation whenever he was doing wrestling and stuff in high school, stuff that that he would be allowed to take that wouldn't get him in trouble, because a lot of times these kids, they start taking something that their buddy that used to play football in 1999 told them, and they start taking these supplements and they don't realize that it's got something that's not supposed to be in there, and they can get suspended for it or whatever. So I helped set him up with Librata Nutrition, and she's a sweetheart. But but to her, she probably felt like she was dead. I mean, she went all out on that run, and I think what happened, my rhabdomyolysis was something that was coming on slow. They're like, hey, we got to stop him now. I was never at a point where I was fainting or there was something bad happening in the sense that was for her. But I think that obstacle that they put together was probably too much for people that had never been doing that. And she had a mentality of like, I want to win, I want to win. So she just didn't stop until all of a sudden her body stopped. And I think that, her organs kind of immediately went into kind of shutting down, getting dehydrated, not having what they needed on a cellular level to do what they need to do. And rhabdo is crazy. It's like some people get it from doing too many pull-ups. So I think it's one of those things that obviously there's people that understand it way better than others, but not every single trainer is going to be, even the good trainers, even trainers that's been there for a while, are not going to have the full, knowledge of what it takes to either keep from getting rhabdo, what are the signs to watch for, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, if they're getting, faint in their face, their dark circles under their eyes, things like that, that would be when somebody's overexerted. So you can watch for those things, but you can't predict that that's going to be rhabdo. That could literally just be dehydration. It could be, hey, your blood pressure is getting out of hand, or your blood sugar dropped. I mean, there's so many things. So I don't look at the trainers and think anything was wrong. I think that, I don't know if Dr. H approved that thing. On the documentary, I think it kind of said that he wasn't there whenever they decided to do it, and he didn't approve it. But from that season on, I think especially Dr. H and Sandy were at every single event that we did. And even me, I had a messed up ankle on the show as well. There was some things that they're like, man, Vinny, we don't want you to risk it, so we're going to make you sit out. Now they didn't explain it to people. They just said on TV, Vinny, you're not physically able to do this, so we're going to make you sit out. So everybody from the other team has an advantage over y'all's team. And that was hard for me to be like, I'm the weak link. They're going to vote me out. They're going to kick me out because I keep sucking. But luckily on our season, we really had just such a great season of people that loved each other and cared for each other. Like, I think we all really voted with our heart. I think everybody really, they didn't really play the game as much as they voted for who, they had, they thought didn't do as hard a work. And we never lied to each other. There wasn't any backstabbing, none of that kind of stuff on our season. There was one little situation where John tried to create the Four Horsemen with me and Ramon and Antone, and he's like, we're going to have the Four Horsemen and we're going to take people out. And we were like, man, that's too much thinking for us. But he had like a 150 something IQ. It was, I'm telling you, every week he would tell us so and so is going to lose the least weight, and he would have them within less than a pound of how much they lost every week. Like, he
Wow.
could calculate it. He would say they've done about this much activity. I've seen them in the. I mean, like, he would. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like, it was like a Rain Man, the way he would kind of. I mean, he told me there was a situation real quick where I had a 3 pound weight advantage, and so he had earned a reward on that episode where he could give somebody a 1 pound disadvantage. So I went to him and said, because he was tired of being the bad guy, and he could already tell he was going to be the bad guy. And he was actually a really nice dude. But he said to me, he's like, man, what should I do? I said, well, dude, if you want to take the easy route, you can just give me a 1 pound disadvantage. I have a 3 pound advantage, so I would still have a 2 pound advantage. And if I can't lose enough weight to be safe, that's on me. I said, then you don't have to be the bad guy. And he came to me, and that was like 4 days ahead of time. He came to me the day before weigh-in. He goes, I think I got to give it to Sonny or to Ramon. I can't remember which one it was. I got to give the 1 pound disadvantage to them. I'm like, why them? I said, I thought that you liked them. He's like, if I don't give it to them, I'm going to go home, because if I don't give it to them, I will be under the red line. And I was like, well, how can you even know that? I'm telling you right now, the only person he could have gave it to is the person he gave it to, or he would have been under the red line. And of course, we would have voted him out. He beat us every single week. He was never not the biggest loser whenever we were on the thing. So we knew he was going to win. But like I said, great guy, loved him and all that. So what was you going to say, Jason? I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was saying, so you said that you know Tracy and love Tracy. So is there like a group of everyone that's been on the show, whether they were on the same season or not, that kind of keeps in touch with each other?
Absolutely. We have an alumni group on Facebook, and we chat on there back and forth. But yes, we all kind of talk with each other. We help each other through struggles. There's people on there that, have fully endorsed the Ozempic lifestyle. There's people on there that's gained all their weight back, people that's kept all their weight off, people that's done other competitions, other TV shows. And so we try to, uplift each other for the most part. I mean, there's been some arguments on the page, but for the most part, people try to, just help each other out in there. And yeah, and like I said, I've only met Tracy in person maybe 2 times, and and then outside of that, I mean, the backlash that she took, and this is unfortunate, especially on reality TV. But some of these stars, man, people just like hate them, even though they don't really know them. They just saw them in a competition, and some people were willing to do whatever. I had a good buddy of mine, Jed. He was on The Bachelorette, and the nicest guy you've ever met in your life, like really is. And he had told this girl he was dating before he went on the show. He was like, hey, before we go on this first date, I do have an opportunity to potentially go on this TV show, and I'd really like to do it. And he did say, because it'll help my career. And boy, he got on there, and of course, then it was this big thing. She sent in a letter saying that they were in love and all these things, and they turned it to, and he actually won that season with the girl, Hannah Brown. She had actually won the season. And then he, turned around and turned it all on him like he was this terrible. I'm telling you, he's the nicest guy in the world. But I'm telling you, he got death threats. He got all this stuff. Like, people like, I hate you. How dare you do that to her, that poor girl? You don't deserve to live. I hope your family. I mean, like, the stuff that people will send on the internet is wild. Of course, if
Yeah.
they met him in person and realized he's like he's like a physical specimen. They probably wouldn't say the same things to his face if I had to guess. But either way, I think you do understand when you go into a TV show, especially now, because we've seen it too many times over. Maybe back when Tracy was on that show, we had not seen the social media backlash back then as much as we've seen it now. So you kind of know when you go on a TV show, hey, people may not like you. People may form an opinion on you based on one thing, and that could be the way that they perceive you forever. I got to admit, when I was watching Game of Thrones, I kind of hated the guy that played the Kid King or whatever it was.
Oh, Jack Gleason.
I didn't really hate him, but I was like, golly, he played his part well. And I actually read an article saying that people really didn't like him because of that character that he played. I was like, well, that means he played his character well. But
That means
anyway,
he's a good actor.
we all stay in touch, man. We're all like, we're not all best friends, but we are all good acquaintances, and there's a lot of us that are really close friends.
Well, during the show, I mean, they brought up all the backlash that Tracy faced, or the documentary rather, and that she wasn't aware she got the villain edit, and then people were sending her just really hateful comments. Was that something that people were aware of during your season of, oh, one of us is going to get a villain edit, one of us is going to be the bad guy?
So when you go into the show, I mean, they make you take aptitude tests and all these things. And they give people. Some people are called red flags, and a red flag is somebody that they know, hey, this person's probably going to cause some drama. This person's probably going to play the game and try to win. A red flag doesn't always mean that you're crazy. It could just mean that you're willing to go the extra distance, for whatever. So, I truly believe, like, in her season, she probably didn't know anything like that. By the time our season had come around, we were a few seasons later. I think they probably started to think, okay, well, you might be the villain. It was kind of weird because John was the villain of our season, theoretically, and he's actually one of the nicest guys you've ever met in your life. I mean, I woke up one morning, we were roommates, and I woke up one morning, I opened my eyes, and he's sitting there over the top of me praying over me. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing? He goes,
Yeah.
and I'm getting ready to walk out, but I just wanted to pray over your well-being. And I know, and that was when I was going through the rhabdomyolysis. He's like, man, I just want to pray
Ah.
over your well-being and let you know that, I'm going to keep God's angels around you, all this stuff. And I was like, that was probably the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. And also freaked me out to wake up. I mean, he was standing over me praying. And I grew up in a
Yeah.
full Pentecostal, full blown all gospel church. So, but like I said, he was a super nice guy, but he got that. But with Tracy, I think what happened was she wanted to win. She hated her situation. She didn't want to go home, even when she was like, facing some pretty serious things. She'd rather be there and facing that and risk it again than go back home and be with her husband at the time. So when people were casting judgment
Mm.
on her and doing all that, they didn't know what she was going through at home. And I think just as human beings as a whole, we could be a lot better about giving each other some grace, because I don't know, maybe your dog died this morning. You're having the worst day ever. Now I just flipped you off in traffic and you lose it, and you slam into my car. I don't know. I'm a pretty even. I'm a pretty even dude. I'm pretty happy all the time. I'm a positive person.
Well, I was also curious about something else, because it seems like you mentioned in this interview, you had a pretty good idea of how you were coming off, what to expect. They said many times in the documentary, "Oh, we're trying to make good TV," and sometimes that comes with really stretching extreme emotions.
Yeah.
And how did the rest of your cast fare with that? I mean, they're not
So
really all entertainers like you.
yeah, well, it's funny enough. Like, to me, Ramon was probably the best entertainer on our season, even though he doesn't do entertainment for a living. His personality was just like, he was half Samoan, half Mexican. He embraced both of those cultures and lifestyles. He was a tattoo artist. Like, he had this thing about him that was just so cool. And I talked about him in my thing. We're still great friends to this day. And I think everybody was portrayed exactly like who they are. It's just a perception of the way people see it. Because some people love that John played the game. They're like, dude, that guy wants to win. That guy, he's the hardest worker. He was the hardest worker. Before any of us got up, he was out there working. So no matter how many games he played, or no matter how much he manipulated the system or tried to do this or do that, he really was a good guy, but he was trying to win. And he was trying to adopt another kid. That was what he wanted to win the money for, was to adopt another kid. So his drivers were different than my drivers. I was a 27-year-old dude, and honestly, when I was going on the show, I was like, well, I need to lose weight. I'd actually went out to LA and auditioned for Dumb and Dumber 2 with Cindy Fairley, who was my lawyer out there, which is the Fairley brothers' sister. I went out there and she told me, look, I think you're great. She goes, I think you're awesome. She goes, but she goes, and we could get you parts in the movie, but you're going to be slapstick. You're going to be the 500-pound guy in a Speedo that they make fun of, or slap your belly or do whatever. She goes, and we can do that for you, and you can make some okay money. She goes, but if you want to be taken serious as an actor, she's like, I think if you were a big guy, you could still be 300 pounds instead of 500 pounds. And at 300 pounds, we can put you on the screen with somebody and all that. So she goes, I would, ask you to go home and work on that a little bit so that you can have a more prominent role, because I believe you have the gift of doing this and your personality for it. So that being said, I feel like when people come on that show, you are kind of getting who they are, but you're not getting the full picture always. You might be getting of who they are. You might be getting the picture of who they are when they're in competition mode. Because let me tell you something, my wife is the sweetest woman in the world, but she's a third-degree world champion black belt in Taekwondo. And when she gets out there, she's 4'11". She's a bodybuilding champion, all this. But when she's in competition, it don't matter if we're playing Jenga. She wants to win at all costs. She literally, you'll be turning your head, she'll be trying to make the bricks fall. That's how she is. But in her everyday life, she's the greatest person you ever met. Like, she would do anything for anybody and wants everybody to have a great day. But when it's in competition, she wants to win. So I don't think you're always seeing the whole picture on people. So if you're casting the judgment, you're basing it off of a very small piece of their life that they're not used to. So as far as the people, that way they got portrayed on our season, I think everybody was portrayed exactly as who they were. I was kind of America's sweetheart. I was the kid that lived a pretty, bad childhood and had to overcome things, but made it and got on tour with Toby Keith. And, I was the one that said, hey, you can achieve your dreams. So that's the role I got to play, but it was really just my story. There was a woman that was, a teacher, and um, the one that was a nurse, and then she was a travel nurse. There was the girl that had never been on a date with a boy before. Like, they have those different parts, and I think when they're casting for the show, of course they're looking for people that need to lose weight, but they're also looking for people that fit the storyline. So our storyline was the battle of the ages. So they knew they needed 5 young people that had some kind of story, 5 middle-aged people that had some kind of story, and 5 silver sneakers, what they called them, that needed, that they needed, that would tell a story. So they were looking for certain parts that anybody wouldn't have just made sense on that. There might have been 10 more people that they considered for the young group, the middle group, or their old group. There might have been 1,000. You got to interview when you got 380 contestants. You can't interview 7 or 8 people and feel like you got it. And you didn't
Mm-hmm.
really do. I mean, you kept 2 or 3 of them were from the same season. So it's like you're not getting an overview. I think as the show goes, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they made mistakes. Every show makes mistakes in the beginning. I mean, look how much different Survivor is now. I just say Survivor because I really want to go on that show one day. But look how much different it is now. Look how much better care they take care of their people. And I'm not saying they were wrong in the other thing. It's like, hey, you're going to go win $1 million. Are you willing to last 31 days? Now it's down to 26 days, and they get rice every single day guaranteed. And whereas used to on the show, it's like you might go 6, 7, 8 days without eating. So I think they learned and they're like, man, we can't put people at risk. We want to be safer for us. And the world's different now. They have to change things on these shows. They have to, be, more courteous to certain things. They have to look at certain things from different angles. They want to make great TV, but they also want to keep the TV show going. They can't get closed down for this or that. So, nobody ever actually died on the show. But there was moments even in our season where somebody fell or somebody got hurt or something happened. But every day on the football field, there's that chance. Every day when you drive out of your, garage to go to work, there's that chance that something could happen. Walking through a parking lot. I mean, I've been hit by a car in Walmart. A woman backed out and hit me literally as I was walking by her car at Walmart. And now luckily I'm spry on my feet and I was able to kind of jump and push myself out of the way. She didn't even know she hit me. Little old lady just backed right into me. So I think those things happen every day, but as they learn, they try to make it as safe as possible while also making a TV show.
Well, I mean, on that note, you brought up a specific number, which was 800 calories you had heard from Bob, and it came up in the documentary, that exact number too. Was there a big gap between what the doctor advised and what the trainers advised?
So it wasn't the trainers on my season; it was just Bob. Dolvet came in. I was
Just
given
Bob.
just Bob my season, but I think Jillian was part of that as well. And
Mm.
Dolvet may have, I don't, maybe he got into that later on, but I know on my season when Dolvet came in, he said, "Where's your card?" And we showed him our card. Mine was 2,400 calories a day. We showed him the card. He said, "I'm going to come in every day. I'm going to check your book. I'm going to make sure that," he goes, "you need to get at least that number of calories in every single day, and I want you to hit your macros." And so we looked at those macros. We looked at it. We started calculating. We created meal plans. We helped each other create meal plans. On my team, I was on the red team to start with, and he would come and check our books every single night. Show me your book. Show me what you've eaten today. And if we were short 600 calories, he's like, go in there and make something at 600 calories. I mean, he was dead set on us doing that. And so that's why when I got switched to Bob, and we knew the black team had to be doing something that was different than us because they were dog
Huh.
walking us. They were dog walking us every single week. I'm like, how are they doing it? And of course, whenever I got over there and I found out, oh, they've been, not all of them, but some of them have been doing 800 calories, a day. Um, it's just not sustainable for a man that was my size, carrying as much muscle as I was and everything. But for most men, for most people, anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 calories a day minimum, I would say, for most people. And for people that are super active, that are lifting weights, that are repairing their muscles, that are doing distance running, any of that kind of stuff, I mean, upwards towards the 3,000 and even up higher for some people. Right now, I do about 2,800 calories a day is about my intake. It took me 5 years after the show before my mind would let me have anything outside of, what my exact meal plan I was eating. And that was more on me because I was sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to let everybody down if I don't go and keep every single bit of this weight off. If I gain a pound back, So that's why I do think there should have been a thing, and I actually sent in for this to be called Life After Loser, where we got people that had been
Mm.
off the show for 4 or 5 years that had stayed successful, that maybe got their training certifications or their nutrition certification, and said, hey, let's put y'all together. Might be a source of income for some of these guys that have went on and further educated themselves and done all that to get some of these newer folks coming off the show, but then show them like, hey, this is how you continue to sustain this lifestyle afterwards.
So in episode 3 of the Netflix docuseries, it talks about everything afterwards. Of course, there were scandals and fallouts, but a lot of it was just former contestants kind of dealing with their journeys after the show. I mean, it is a big change from, perhaps some people eating 800 calories a day to living normal lives with stress where weight loss isn't their only objective. Of course, we all have lives and stress and jobs and all these things pile up. And of course, there was that NIH study that they mentioned in the docuseries of they followed some of the season 8 contestants around and found that they all had, not all, but all but one had regained the weight. And they were talking about different metabolic rates changing. So, how has it been after the show for you? I mean, it seems like there are a lot of different methods to continuing the health journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more people that gain the weight back than keep it off, but
Mm-hmm.
that's true in all weight loss. So the
Mm,
metabolic thing is true in all weight loss. So the thing they did was they took 15 contestants or 18 contestants, whatever it was, from that one season, which maybe was an extreme season. Maybe there was a lot that happened on that season. I don't know. Maybe a lot of them did the 800 calories. You know, I was blessed to have Dolvet my first year. I believe that it was his first year. It was my only year. I was on a few other seasons as a guest appearance. Um,
mm,
but you can't take such a small sample size and mark that as the majority. And if you're going to do that, then
right.
you also need to study Jenny Craig, and you need to study Ozempic, and you need to study any kind of weight loss system that there is out there, and be like, how does it compare with these other things? Because at the end of the day, it's calorie deficit. You know, when you really look at it, it's calories in, calories out. So a lot of bodybuilders really have metabolic damage after they've gotten, eaten and gotten as big and strong as they can, and then they diet off all of it, and then they do water manipulation and all this. So they would have to go through and do so much more on that NIH study. Now, is it correct in the fact that yes, it can damage your metabolism, all that other stuff, but you know what else damages your metabolism? Being 500 pounds. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like trying to digest that much food, eating that much junk food, eating that much sugar, getting diabetes, all those things that you were already doing to your body were going to kill you faster than this metabolic system you have. You can also reverse diet. You can work on your metabolic rate. You can figure out how much activity you need to get to combat that. I think one of the problems is a lot of people don't go lift weights and they don't do any kind of resistance training. I'm not saying you got to go do like me and bench press 500 pounds and do that kind of crap. I love doing that because it's what keeps me motivated in the gym. However, some resistance training, not just going and running every day. So what happens in your metabolism? You go and you do all that running, and you run 10 miles every morning. Maybe that's your thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But eventually, your knees are going to break down, and you're not going to be able to run 10 miles every single day. You know, eventually, you're going to have some situations come along that's going to, you hurt your ankle. I broke my ankle a couple years ago. I stayed around other than when I was training for strongman, which was at the time I broke my ankle, but I actually broke it racing my wife like an idiot. But I had to have two ankle surgeries. You know, after when had those ankle surgeries, I was laid up in a bed for 6 months each time. You know, I was really laid up for 3 months, non-weight bearing in a cast, but then it was another 3 months of being in a boot. And my metabolism was used to me walking 10,000 plus steps a day. It was used to me riding my bike. It was used to me going to the gym and doing 30, 45 minutes of cardio. All of a sudden that was gone. So I have to adjust my food in order to say, hey, you're not going to go burn those extra calories. So somebody that goes and runs 10 miles every day and they burn those calories all at one time, and they do it because they're running that as soon as you stop running, your heartbeat gets back into regular rhythm, you stop burning calories. Whereas when you lift weights, your body is going to have to repair the muscles. Your body's working overtime to feed those on a cellular level. So you actually build and add muscle. It's going to add to your metabolic rate because you're going to need more calories to run the muscle in your system. Whereas whenever you're running every single day, your body's going to say, "Oh, you're going to burn all those calories. Why do I need to burn them?" So your metabolism is going to drop. Your food intake. People that cut their
No.
Uh,
Vinny, I don't know if you can tell, but we can't see or hear you anymore.
all right, we got Vinny back. We had some technical issues. But
well, I never claimed to be good at technicalities. So
that's okay. It is a technicality. But well, thanks so much for joining us and telling us your story. Every week we talk about just a different show that we like, but we always try to get a new perspective on it. So thank you for giving us your unique perspective.
thank you so much, man. I appreciate the opportunity. For me, at the end of the day, it doesn't change my life if the show's done, it's over with. Maybe it'll have more seasons later one day they'll re-bring it back or whatever. But I do want it to be at least treated fairly in the fact that, man, they did a lot of bashing on that thing and on that documentary, but I wanted to make sure my part of it was heard because I had a great experience. And like I said, I'm not discounting their experiences. They were all folks that went through it the way they did, whatever they chose to do. I just think people need to be more responsible for the fact that you chose to eat 800 calories. You were told by the doctor what to eat, and then you decided not to do that. That was still a choice you made. Now, whether it was influenced one way or the other because you thought the trainer was a celebrity or this or that, that's up on you. Either way, you still made a choice. Nobody forced you or unforced you to eat food or do that. Nobody forced you to take caffeine pills. They gave it to you as an option. At the end of the day, it was literally 200 grams of caffeine, which people drink a Celsius or a Lonnie or whatever we're going to be sponsored by here every single day of their life. A hard cup of coffee is 200 milligrams of caffeine. So it's not like they were sitting there forcing a Fedra down their throat or anything like that. It was like stackers, those stacker pills are 200 milligrams of caffeine. Those were not offered on my season. They were never put in front of us. We weren't allowed to have that. We were limited to a cup of coffee in the morning, cup of coffee in the afternoon, which a lot of people just do that to relax with.
Sure.
We never had any of that. We did have one guy that got caught with some Metamucil. He was taking some extra strength Metamucil to try and go to the bathroom before,
I see. Before
the
weigh-in. Yeah.
But that's the only scandalous thing, and that wasn't a big deal, and it it is what it is. But yeah, we just didn't have that on my season. The other seasons may have, but our season, man, we went at it. We did the best we could. Everybody, there was definitely moments that were heated. There was moments that people got mad at each other. But when you put 15 personalities in the room that have, childhood trauma or lifetime trauma, there's going to be an argument. There's going to be some TV to be made. And I just think that's going to happen no matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter if it's on a TV show or not. If you get it, I love church, but even in a church, at some point you're going to disagree with somebody at the church and you're going to have a little bit of a moment. And it's how you react to those moments that kind of define who you are as a person. So for me, the show was great. I loved it. I wanted to just kind of put my word out there and just say, hey, wait a second. You are doing a lot of bashing, but there was a lot of good in this show too.
Well, Vinny, what's next for you? What's going on? What can we tell people about?
Yeah, I mean, just checking out my music. If you go to, you can go see Walmart Drip is my latest single. It's on my, Bigg Vinny Official, Bigg. I'm too big for one G. So Bigg Vinny Official, you can go check it out, Spotify, wherever you get your music from for free. I guess you pay $10 a month, but wherever we give it to them for free. And they go get it, go listen to it, stream it, tell all your friends about it, do some TikTok videos, do it, whatever you do. So I got that going. Obviously, I own a little resort in Perry County called the Buffalo River Resort. It's a great place to go and relax and unwind and all that kind of stuff. My wife has Go Forth Wellness, which is her health and fitness company. She can teach you how to be in shape, get these big old guns like I got, all that good stuff. But I'm doing that, man. I'm on the road playing shows. I'm, wrote a kid's book. I do a little bit of everything, man. I try to make sure that the ideas that I have don't just sit and be wasted ideas. Now, all of them don't work out, but I still put it forth enough effort to find out, hey, is this something that can work? And if so, how can I make it work? I think so many people look for the way that everything's going to fail as opposed for looking for the way that it might succeed. And I don't want to leave that stone unturned and be like, man, I wish I would have tried that kid's book, or I wish I'd have tried making that movie, or I wish I'd have tried this. I just think that, in life, you only get one go round about it, and I guess for me, I got two go rounds because I was supposed to be gone by 30 and I'm still here. So I don't want to wake up and not have some intention for every day.
That's great, man. Well, thanks so much. And I'll see you soon, I'm sure. Okay. Well, we learned a lot, having our first guest on, technology and everything. So
yeah, we're going to have rules regarding what technology you use and how.
Yeah. I mean, we are an independent podcast of two. We have no staff, nothing. We are the only people that do this podcast.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, at any rate, it was interesting to hear from someone who's actually been on the subject. He's been on The Biggest Loser. He wasn't in the documentary because, like you mentioned, 8 people out of hundreds is what they did.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to get his perspective. I mean, there were so many perspectives in the documentary too, ranging from, I love Bob Harper, I'm naming my son Harper after him, to what did Joelle say? F you, Bob Harper, and your little dog too.
Right, yeah, and your little dog too. I loved that.
Yeah, so it's just truly all over the place were the opinions. Someone who never watched the show, I will say that I don't think this documentary was thorough at all. It just barely glazed on a few topics, including the Rachel who lost what they said was too much weight during the show.
Right.
And I think she won her season, but of course she didn't. She lost a lot of weight. Rachel Fredrickson. And then it seemed like a lot of people were blaming each other for what went down. Like, well, it was good TV. They should have known. Or, well, I should have been consulted. Or, I think the people who walked away with bad feelings, I feel for them. I don't really know. I guess I'm just going to keep an open mind and say, I don't really know whose fault anything was, but I do know how people came off in this documentary, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and bearing with us for our technical issues, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Intro Skippers with Jason Charles Miller and Kim Horcher is produced and edited by Kim Horcher and Jason Charles Miller. The name order doesn't really matter. Additional writing by Kim Horcher. Theme song and incidental music by Jason Charles Miller. Take it away, me. You can rate and review this show, 5 stars only please, anywhere you'd like, and you might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question? Email us at introskipperspod@gmail.com. That too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Intro Skippers on your favorite podcast platform, but preferably one we're actually on. All right, thanks for getting this far. Here's a special treat just for you. I'm gonna stop talking.